Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our lunch lab today. I am Sally Delisle, co-owner and director of trainings at ChildLight Education Company. Our mission is providing wellness education to create happy, healthy, and resilient youth and families. This is actually part 2 of a 2-part series, although it's going to be more than a 2-part series, we've discovered, with Lisa Stevens regarding the business of bookkeeping. If you missed part 1, you can view it on our ChildLight Education Company YouTube channel. Welcome back, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we were just talking about lunch. What are you having for lunch today?
I was telling Sally that my fridge is bare and I need to make a trip to the grocery store very soon. So unfortunately, I think I'm only eating a salad and fruit today, which sounds kind of boring.
Well, I'm really looking forward to my gluten-free turkey wrap when we're wrapping this up today. I didn't think that I would try to talk and eat at the same time. So out there, for those of you that are watching this, I hope you're enjoying your lunch, or maybe it's a different time of day and you're watching this. But thank you for joining us. So before we really dive in today, Kristen Santos, one of our ChildLight yoga teacher trainers, longtime PE teacher in Hopkinton School District, and also a new published author of yoga for PE teachers. She's reached out several times now with many questions in regard to being a new business owner. And we're thinking that other people may also have the same questions. So my question to you today, Lisa, is what seems to be the BBBQ, biggest burning bookkeeping question?
That is awesome. I love that. By the way, I would have to say, Sally, that the BBQ, biggest burning bookkeeping question, the BBBQ,
Thank you.
I'm with one B off, would definitely be in regards to invoicing. So we need to make money and we need to charge for our services, any sales we're making. And the only way to do that is to invoice. So that's the biggest burning bookkeeping question. So we're not going to talk about that today, but we will talk about that in an episode in the near future.
Hey, yes, I remember having no idea how to create and send an invoice when I was first starting out. So that would be super helpful for a lot of people.
I think so. Absolutely.
Okay, we'll make sure in a future episode that we put that in the title somehow so people that are looking for that information can find it easily.
A great idea.
Okay, so what are you talking about with us today?
Okay, I'm going to share my screen here, folks, so we can go over this. So here we are, part 2. So I'm just going to do a quick summary of part 1 for those who need a little reminder or weren't able to make it to part 1. And if you weren't, I would really encourage you to take a look at that for a baseline of some really important foundational things. So real quick before I get started, my name is Lisa Stevens, and I am the accounting manager for ChildLight Education Company. I've been with ChildLight since 2018, and I have been a bookkeeper since 2016. I always like to clarify that I'm not a CPA and that any tax-related question should be directed to your CPA or your tax advisor. And lastly, in this video, we will be discussing accounting software. ChildLight utilizes QuickBooks for our accounting needs. However, we are not advertising or promoting the use of QuickBooks expressly. You should choose whatever accounting software fits your personal needs. And here's a quick summary of what we discussed in part 1. So as a business owner, It is important that you track and organize your financials to understand the financial position of your business and to provide all necessary information to your accountant for tax purposes. We discussed how it can be understandably overwhelming, quite an undertaking. And if that is the case, you can always hire a trusted and knowledgeable person to assist you with this. We defined accounting terms such as revenue, expenses, the chart of accounts, accounts receivable, and accounts payable, which we will review one more time. And we also reviewed types of accounting software. So let's just dive in here. Let's do a quick overview of what we're going to discuss today. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how do you utilize QuickBooks to manage finances as an independent contractor or business owner. And again, we utilize QuickBooks here. There are definitely other accounting programs that can help you manage your finances as well. We are going to talk about how to set up a QuickBooks business file. We are going to set up a business bank account and connect it to QuickBooks. Create a chart of accounts. What types of accounts should this include? Create a set of classes to track expenses and revenue associated with specific products or services that you offer. We're going to discuss what are tags and how do we use them. And finally, we will discuss tags versus classes. So the first thing we're talking about today is banking. We're all familiar with banking. And if you don't have a business, you're very familiar on a personal level, but banking is just as important for your business as it is for you personally. I would personally recommend that you open a separate bank account that is dedicated to your business. If you were to use your personal account as well, it could get a little bit messy and it may be hard to differentiate between business transactions and personal transactions. So I always like to say if you can open a separate bank account, that would be very helpful for you and starting to get organized with your business. So you've got your business bank account opened and now you're saying, how do I connect this? How can I make it work with my new accounting file? Well, you can actually connect your business bank account to your online accounting software. So that is fabulous, and this makes things so much easier. If you're using QuickBooks Online, you would navigate to the menu on the left side of the screen and then to banking. And it's so easy. There's like a button that says link your account. It's right there. You can't miss it. And then you would just follow the steps provided. So it's pretty easy. They make it very easy, but you can always contact customer service at your software, accounting software, whoever you've chosen, and they can help you with that should you have any troubles. So for us, for our accounting software, QuickBooks, when you connect your online bank account, the transactions automatically download and categorize. You will then review these transactions and approve and categorize them using your chart of accounts. So all of a sudden, you've got all your transactions, right? And that's really exciting because it's so much quicker now that they can do it this way. So when we're talking about, right, let's step back. So I've told you all your transactions have come in and now you're going to categorize them and you're saying, great, but where am I going to categorize them? What am I supposed to do with them? Well, this is where your chart of accounts comes in, okay? So let's do a quick review of what the chart of accounts is. Your chart of accounts, or COA, will contain your assets, liabilities, equities, revenue, and expense accounts. When you start with QuickBooks, when you set up your file, they're already going to have a generic chart of accounts set up for you. Okay, so you have a place to start. You're not just out in the cold. I have attached a little QuickBooks online tutorial here. They will show you exactly how to set up your chart of accounts. So please take a look at this if you're having any questions about that. I think it's very helpful. So really quickly, what are assets? Any resource your company owns that provides value. Your accounts receivable, your inventory, equipment, cash. What are your liabilities? Any debt your company owes. Liabilities may include accounts payable, your bills, business loans, any taxes you may owe, and finally, equity. Your equity in your business is what's left after subtracting your company's liabilities from its assets. Okay. Now, also in your chart of accounts are your revenue and expense accounts. These accounts are going to be very important when you're categorizing transactions that have come over from your bank account. Let's remember, let's review what the revenue and expense accounts are. So revenue, that's the money your business is bringing in from sale of its goods or services. These accounts could include sales of product, services, even interest revenue. Expenses, all the types of money and resources a business spends in an effort to generate revenue. So to calculate your net income, you will take your revenue and then subtract your expenses. Expense accounts may include the following: payroll, rent, travel expenses, utility bills. So as we're looking at transactions coming in from your bank account, you would be categorizing them into either a revenue category if it's a deposit into your bank account, or if it's a debit or withdrawal from your bank account, you're going to be categorizing into the expenses category, which again, these are going to be in your chart of accounts.
Lisa, other expenses for yoga schools, yoga teachers, yoga businesses currently could include, if you're teaching online, your online platform, such as Teachable, or if you're paying for any type of online teaching platform, Zoom, your Zoom dues, right?
Absolutely.
Your Yoga Alliance dues could go under expenses, correct?
They could, yes.
Things like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything related to your business, supplies for your business.
Props. So if you're providing the blocks and the blankets and the straps for your classes, those are expenses.
They are. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Also in your chart of accounts, you've got your accounts receivable and your accounts payable. Okay. So accounts receivable, this is the money that you are waiting for. Okay, you've invoiced your client and you're waiting for that money. So while you're waiting for that money and it hasn't been deposited to your bank account, it's sitting in your accounts receivable. Okay, so you're going to, you've invoiced your clients and you're waiting to collect payment. Okay. Okay. And while you're waiting for that to come in, you want to make sure that when it does come in, when you do create your invoice, that you are making sure that it's going to the correct income account. So if you have a services account, or if you have a sales of product account, if you are selling a product, you would want to make sure that the revenue for that is coming into your sales of product account, which is going to, again, to be in your chart of accounts. And then if you are teaching a yoga class, you would want to make, and you're teaching either in person or a live remote session, perhaps on Zoom, you would want that money to come into your services account. So these are some of the ways that we're able to categorize the type of revenue that you're bringing in. Okay. And the same when we're categorizing your accounts payable, your bills, when they're coming through, we want to make sure we're entering our bills into the correct corresponding account. So if you're paying your rent for your studio, you want to make sure that you're paying it out of your rent account, which is in the chart of accounts. So we're making sure we're categorizing things so that at a later date, when we want to run a report or we want to look and see what we're spending, we can pull that account up and see exactly how much money we've spent on rent for the year for our studio. I always like to remind folks when you are entering bills, there is a spot I know in QuickBooks, and I'm assuming also in other accounting software, that you can actually attach a picture of your corresponding receipt or your vendor bill, which is very important. If you're looking back, you'll be able to look at that transaction and say, okay, what exactly was this bill for? What is the breakdown? And you can pull up the receipt or the bill right there in the transaction.
Helpful.
Very
If
helpful.
we're thinking about Kristen Santos again on this topic,
Yes.
so she has her book. And if she were, so her book would be a product,
Correct.
right? And
Correct.
if she were teaching a class, then that would go under services.
That's correct. Absolutely, Sally.
Fabulous.
Okay, and this is just a brief review. We looked at this last time. This is your chart of accounts. Your balance sheet accounts are going to be at the top. Those accounts are your assets, your liabilities, your equity accounts. Your income statement accounts are going to be below that. That's your revenue and expense accounts. Okay. Okay. Let's move on to classes. So everybody says, well, how do classes apply in accounting? What does that mean? Well, a good sort of baseline, not too complicated definition, classes definition, all that really is a categorization of your revenue and expenses related to your business. So when that rent expense comes in, or when, let's see, a telephone expense comes in, not only are you going to make sure that that's in the correct account, telephone, perhaps your telephone or internet account, rent in your rent account, but if you're using classes, there's a little spot when that comes in and downloads for you to add in the class. Now you're asking, why would you do that? Why would you need to do that? So you would create a set of classes, and you would do this because that will help you track your different and consistent revenue streams. Okay, so if you are, Sally, if you're selling a book, but you're also providing yoga classes, and you've got something else going on that you're also doing, perhaps you have a class for your book. Okay, so that when that deposit comes in and it's a sale for your book, you're able to actually class it directly to your book. Because if you have other products, maybe you're not sure which product this was for. And you're able to then later on pull a report and say, oh, this is how many books I sold. This is how many yoga mats I sold. So in QuickBooks Online, if you want to create classes, there's a little breakdown here. You're going to go to your gears setting. Okay, that's the upper right-hand side of the screen. select all lists, select classes, then you're going to select new, and you would give the class a name. If you were teaching a specific training and you have a name for that training, and you have other trainings as well, you might say, okay, this is, I'm going to actually, let's say we were using the seasons. This is my fall training. So you're going to create a class for fall so that any expenses and any revenue that comes in specifically for the fall training, you're able to class that specifically to the fall training. And now you get to look back and say, these were the expenses. This is the revenue. This is my net profit from the fall training and on. And sometimes you might have like a header class, like perhaps you have a header class of training, and then underneath it, you can have a subset of classes: fall training, spring training, winter training, that type of thing. Another great example is you sell 5 different types of yoga mats. You are wondering which mat is the most profitable for your business. You would create a class for each mat and use those classes for the revenue and expense transactions associated with each mat. At the end of the year, you can run a profit and loss by class report, and you'll be able to see which mat is the most profitable. Now, we will talk about how to run reports, such as the profit and loss by class report, in a future session. Okay, so we talked about classes. Let's talk about tags. Okay, what are tags? So if you are using classes, which is what we just discussed, if you decide to use classes to class each of your transactions into a specific spot so you can track the revenue and expenses that go with that item, that service, you have to class every transaction, or you're not going to be able to utilize it in the way you want to run the reports. The nice thing about tags, where it's a little different, is that not all transactions have to be tagged. So tags can assist in kind of fine-tuning your classing system. So what they are exactly: tags are customizable labels that let you track transactions however you'd like. You can put a tag on invoices, expenses, and bills. You can group tags together and run reports to see how specific areas of your business are doing, and they don't impact your books. Okay, you can set up tag groups and then tags within that group. So what would that be? What's an example of that? So you are planning 3 different fall events at your studio. You want to track the income and expenses associated with all 3 events. You would create a tag group called Fall 2023 Events. Okay, so that's your main group. And then a tag, you would create a tag with each event's name. Okay, so you have, remember, you have the 3 events that are happening, okay, but the overheader is the Fall 2023 events. So when the transactions come in for these events, you're going to be able to apply the appropriate tag to the transaction. At the end of your event, you can run a report to see which event was more profitable. Now, a really good example of this is, again, when we're talking about tags, it's really more of like not a consistent revenue event. It's more of, it could be like a one-off event. So you don't need to create say you're going to do this Fall 2023 events. You're going to do these 3 events under it. You're not sure how it's going to work, and you don't really know if you're going to use it, if you're going to actually present again with these. But in order to do that, you need to be able to see what your income and expenses were. So that's when tags come in handy. So if you utilize QuickBooks for your accounting needs, I have added a little video here, QuickBooks video, explaining the use of tags. They go much more in depth, and I believe also help you create tags.
So classes are for consistent, regular business
Right.
practices and transactions, and tags are for one and dones or experimental
Yes.
practices or classes or
Yeah.
products that you just want to check out. Maybe it's a pilot program,
Yeah.
something like that.
Absolutely. And that I think that's the best way to differentiate them. I mean, not that you couldn't use tags. It doesn't necessarily have to be a one-time event, but I feel if you're looking at the difference, I think that's a great way to talk about it. Like if you're selling a book or even, several books, and that's a consistent revenue stream for you, classes would be a good way to track that. And
Because
again, like
that's a regular thing that you do.
absolutely. That isn't changing. Um, and whereas tags are good for other things, one-time events. So, and a good thing to remember is typically you're only going to have a certain number of classes. And you may not want to create a class for a one-time event, because then if it doesn't happen again, you've got this class here that you're not using. So instead, you might use a tag to track the expenses for that.
And once a class is created, it's always there. You don't necessarily delete a class, or it takes up a number. So that number is always classed to whatever that is and can't be used for something else.
Right. So once you've created a class, you can inactivate it if you're going to choose not to use it again. But if you have tracked prior expenses to it, those expenses or revenue, that's going to live still in your history, right? So because that is a part of your books, okay. Um, so
Always attached to that class.
correct, correct.
Yep. Okay.
Correct. So if you wanted to get rid of it, that's absolutely fine. You would just inactivate it.
Understood.
So I think okay, we already discussed this point. When you use classes, you will apply them to every single transaction, every debit from your bank account, every credit to your bank account. You'll want to use a class with every transaction. Classes also allow you to run a profit and loss report with columns detailing expenses, revenue, and your net profit by class. So we'll go into this a little deeper when we discuss running reports in a future session. But to know now, this is really helpful if you have several products. If you have, a lot of things going on in your business that are consistent revenue, expense type things, this allows you to really see those different items and to be able to see what is the actual net profit for my book, my calendar, my whatever I'm creating for the class that I'm teaching twice a month, you know? So that's very helpful. Now, tags, as we discussed, can be applied to whatever transaction you choose. You don't have to apply them to all transactions. So they're a little bit different, right? So you might say, oh, I want to look into see that test class that I did. Like you're a pilot class. You've got a pilot class that you've done. You're really excited about it. You've never tried it before. And how did it do? How did it do? How much revenue did you bring in? What were the costs for that class? That would be a great way to use a tag. So in wrap up, some important takeaways. Today, we discussed how to utilize QuickBooks to manage finances as an independent contractor, business owner. We reviewed how to connect your business bank account in QuickBooks, the setup of the chart of accounts in QuickBooks, the definition and use of classes to track different revenue streams, and the use of tags to label transactions to track more specific areas of your business. Please stay tuned for part 3, where we will learn how to run different financial reports in QuickBooks and discuss what these reports mean for your business. So that's all for today, Sally.
Lisa, thank you so much for sharing all of this valuable information. Just dumped my water on my desk.
Oh, it's a Monday or a Wednesday.
Time to go eat. We really appreciate everything that you're sharing with us. If anyone has questions for Lisa, you can reach out through our email or website. So you can email Lisa directly, lstevens@childlightyoga.com or info@childlightyoga.com. Our website is childlighteducationcompany.com. You can find us there too. And that's where you can reach Lisa. So until next time, take care, do good things out there, and we look forward to learning more in a future episode. So enjoy your lunch. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.